I'm going to explain how to pick a ripe pomegranate. There are signs that I look for. One of them is the shape, and you can see that it becomes a bit boxy, and that's because there are like membranes that separate the different compartments of the pomegranate, and the arils, that's the little fruits inside, they fill it up as they get fatter with juices, and they push it out into that shape. And you can see, compared to maybe some of the younger fruit, it's not as boxy, maybe more round. Oh, that's getting there as well. The first sign is boxy. Then I tap it, and that comes up with a wooden sound. That's the second sign. The third sign is the weight, and you feel it, and it kind of feels heavier than it looks. And then some people say that you should then be able to just pick it off the tree. So let's see. And then you can feel how heavy it is, and yeah, that's pretty freaking heavy for how it looks. So a pomegranate is a very Armenian fruit. It's the symbol of Armenia, and it signifies abundance and fertility. So it's, you know, a really Armenian thing to have a pomegranate tree at your place. I propagated this one from a little cutting from the tree at the place where Hannah was renting years ago when we first met. I just took a little bit of a cutting, and then I dipped it into rooting hormone. It was very successful. I think I got like 11 plants out of all that, and then they all grew, and then I gave them all away. When caring for the pomegranate tree, what you'll notice is once you plant it, eventually it'll start giving these, they look like suckers that'll start growing from the bottom. I tend to cut those off because it turns into this massive unruly bush, which I don't want. I gave one to my mum, and that's grown in that way, like she hasn't cut the suckers, and now she's got like about 8 plants growing into trees all in a small area, and I don't want that. And you can see that what I've done here is I've pruned it in the shape of like a goblet, and that's just to allow the air and the light to get in. The pomegranate do well with a lot of light, the fruit themselves. Like if you look over here, so we get the morning sun coming from that way, and you can see so many fruit. So much of the fruit has grown on this side. I thought when I pruned it that maybe I'd be sacrificing some fruit for the following season. That did not happen for me. I pruned it, and I had fruit growing on the new growth. I've got a brush just for this. So what you do is, so you got 2 types of flowers. You got like a female and a male. One of them is like long, and one of them's rounded, long and elongated. One of them's rounded and bulbous. So what you do is you get the pollen from one, and then you put it on the other. Oh, there's a little spider on that one. See the spider? I've disrupted its home.
Oh.
Or just put that somewhere else. And you can pollinate it like that, and that just increases the odds of getting fruit. The ones that don't turn into anything will probably just fall off. Eventually I stopped doing it all because the bugs were doing a good enough job of pollinating. But that can increase your chances of fruiting. One of the other things I would probably say that I've learned about pomegranates is this leaf curl thing that happens. You can see that here. Now, there might be various reasons for this. It could be a nutrition thing, it could be bugs, it could be fungus. I have in the past tried to spray it with white oil. There is information that says spray it with neem oil, and again, that's something I've stopped doing because what I find is that it happens at the ends, and they're usually the parts that I'm going to prune off anyway, so I just sort of like let it be. It could weaken the plant in the long term, but it's been okay so far for me, and it almost seems like it's growing out anyway. The other thing you could do is just make sure that it's a healthy plant with healthy soil, and that's the best way to keep bugs away. So maybe give it some good fertilizer, some go-go juice that helps put probiotics into the soil. What we'll do now is we'll check out what our yield is. I'm gonna weigh this bad boy and I'll crack it open and have some delicious pomegranate. Let's see what the yield is. 768 grams. So yeah, this is what I mean by it feeling heavier than it looks, because when I looked at this on the tree, it did not look like 3/4 of a kilo. Okay, so I'm going to open the pomegranate. I'm wearing a crappy shirt, green shirt, because pomegranate stains and the seeds and arrows tend to pop everywhere. So I like to wear not very good clothes when I'm doing this in case it splashes on me, because yeah, it's hard to get out. Then you basically cut the top off it. You peel it off. Okay. And then you should see the membrane will probably be there where all the angles are, right? So I cut it from there. I just basically cut it down from all the angles. You can open it up like that. You see the membrane, and that's what's giving it its shape. And grab that and try to pull that out. Pull out as much of that membrane as possible. So there's the middle bit. You just pick out the big massive chunks. Then I'm going to take it all over to the sink. So then the easiest way to actually get them out is with a wooden spoon, and you just before I knew that this was the way to do it, I used to like individually try to peel them all out, and it used to take me ages, and it was very messy. But this is absolutely the easiest way, and it's actually, I feel so silly doing it any other way. And I guess when it's ripe, it comes out pretty easily. I'm keen to find out how it tastes. These are the fruit, you can see. It's basically seeds covered with flesh. And when the tree hasn't had much water during the season, what I noticed is that the arils are a lot more, less flesh basically, and the seeds I have to basically, when I eat it, I get a mouthful of it and I have to spit out the seeds because they're just too bitter. But what I find is if I've given it a lot of water, or if it's rained a lot during the summer, then the fruit's a lot tastier, and the arils, the seeds, I can just eat them actually. You know, it's not such of an insult to my taste buds. So I guess what I would say is if you're growing a pomegranate plant, just make sure that it's getting a lot of water. And then, once you've got all of that, you've got the most of it, what I tend to do is then I fill up the container with water. It's not to wash it, it's just because all those other little bits of like membrane and husk and whatever, just to get those out, because they tend to float to the surface. And then you get your fruit at the bottom. and then you just drain it. Oh yeah, pomegranate fruit. Let's see how much actual fruit is in that. In that 767 grams. So, yeah, less than half. 319 grams of fruit in that 767 gram pomegranate, which is still pretty good. You can see sometimes they come out like, that's the color that I like to see, this rich pink one. I just tried it, and that's a lot more flavoursome than that one. And this one was heavier as well. Once you have it, you can keep it in the fridge for about a week if you've disassembled it, taken it out of the fruit. But you can actually keep the full fruit in the fridge for it keeps for about 2 months. And if you keep it outside of the fridge, you can probably leave it on the counter for about a month and it lasts fine. But yeah, enjoy your pomegranates. This is a few days later after I brushed some pollen from the male flower to the female flower. You can see that it's gone a bit darker, it's a little bit more filled out. So that's probably going to turn into a fruit. You can see the stigma there, that's the bit that needs the pollen from the male flower. So you brush the yellow powder onto that. And here's one where you can see before it's changed, the stigma is there. It's a bit harder, it's firmer, sticks out more. These are the stamens that are around it. That's how you can increase your chances. I wanted to also show you, here is another pomegranate that looks quite big. It's filled out. It looks like it's changing shape, but when I go to feel it, it's very light. Not very light, but it's light. It's not like, say, this one down here, which I do the same thing and it's very heavy, a lot of resistance to my hand. So that's the sort of thing you're looking for. Like even this one, oh, that one's getting heavy. Yeah. I'm at my mum's house and let's go take a look at her pomegranate trees. So big, much bigger than mine. They get bigger than this. So if you come over here, you can see. So she's got 3, right? But this is what I was talking about with the pomegranate trees and their suckers. If I had not pruned it, she would have had like this main trunk and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like they all would have bushed up from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then it just grows into like this massive unruly bush. So yeah, that's why I recommend pruning off the suckers. I came here and I pruned my mum's pomegranate tree last year because it was so jammed up and closed up. I was just speaking to her just before. She said she's got a lot more fruit this year, and I think that is because I've cut away a lot of the internal branches, giving it a lot more air, giving each of the individual fruit more exposure to light. You might think that you're sacrificing your yield. That's not the case. It's called strategic pruning. When you strategically prune it, a lot of that energy of the plant goes into the fruit that is there, and you get fuller, tastier fruit. So I actually wanted to prune this harder. I wouldn't want this branch here because it's like crossing over. I'd get rid of this branch because it's crossing over. It's contacting the other branches. I'd actually probably get rid of these ones as well. These two, and then just choose one so that all energy goes into that. But look, she's getting a lot of fruit. from these other ones as well. And it's all the ones, it's the fruit that's blossoming is the ones that have most exposure to light. So she still has some flowers, and you can see here, so that's the male flower. That's the male flower, because you can see it's narrower, right? And that's the female flower. You can see it's more bulbous, right? So that's going to have the pollen in there. Well, it's pretty late season, so it might not. Well, you can see some of the dried up pollen. You get that and you put it onto the stigma. The hard little stem in the middle, which I can feel it when I press in there. So you get the pollen from the male flower, you put it onto the pistil of the female flower, and it increases your chances of getting fruit. So from there to there. Use a paintbrush. I get lazy and I just use my finger. So here you can see that's the male flower. It's a little longer, and the female flower is a bit more bulbous like that. That's because that round bit turns into the fruit. So you get the pollen from fruit. I got a mosquito on me. Oh,
Oops.
good one.
No. Ew. Yuck.
Look how much the pomegranates are in the store for these pissy small ones. How much do they weigh? 285 grams. No thanks, grow your own.